offer apologies that technical difficulties derailed last week's CaneSport Live show. But wow, so much has transpired since we last met here on CaneSport Live 2 weeks ago. The Canes Nation has absorbed a couple of body blows by way of the last-second loss to Georgia Tech, where everything went haywire, to the third-quarter collapse that led us to Saturday night's loss at North Carolina. The latest defeat was earned on both sides of the ball. The offense turned the ball over, and in a night game on the road against a good team, that's going to spell disaster almost every single time. But the defense also simultaneously fell apart in the second half, unable to handle North Carolina's rapid pace and suffering several breakdowns at the line of scrimmage as well in the secondary. And now there's no time to lick wounds. The Clemson Tigers are on their way to South Florida, and that has not meant good things for the Miami Hurricanes for well more than the past decade. Clemson's on a 2-game win streak and has had an off week to prepare for Miami. Now, both losses in the last 2 weeks could have been avoided. The Georgia Tech game through better decisions down the stretch, and the North Carolina game through better ball security and better preparation on the defensive side of the ball for the fast pace that Carolina went to in the second and third quarters. It created a lot of chaos on the Miami side of the field, and that ultimately led to breakdowns that resulted in points. So as we begin a new edition of CaneSport Live tonight, we can see improvement in the program, even as it sits 4-2 right now. The offense is ranked number 7 in the country. The defense is ranked number 18. That's a massive improvement over a year ago, at least at this point in the season. But it hasn't been good enough. And Miami is certainly out of the ACC race right now and playing only for pride and bowl game positioning. So we're going to talk about all of that and more tonight as we embark on a new edition of CaneSport Live. Hello again, everybody. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, and we welcome you once again to CaneSport Live. It's good to be back. Again, apologies for last week. We went to start the show and the entire system went haywire, and thus we couldn't make it happen. But as always, this is your show, and it will be driven by your participation. The call-in number is 563-999-3550. That's 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad. If you want to come on the show, we have over 100 open phone lines. Plenty of room for everybody to call in and participate. If you're driving around, you also can call in and listen if you're on your phone. But if you want to come on the show, you hit the 1 on your keypad. We once again ask subscribers at CaneSport.com to post the topics and questions that they would like to hear discussed on tonight's show, and we will address them this evening during the course of the show. So as usual, there's so much on the table as we get together for CaneSport Live, and we kind of have 2 weeks worth tonight. So want to hear everybody's opinions. Looking for a lot of calls tonight. Let's get some first-time callers on the lines and get some varied opinions. And CaneSport's Izubee Charles has joined me this entire season on this show. So Izubee, I think that we might as well start with you here. I just got to find you here in the queue real quick. You kind of disappeared on me for a second, but I will be to you here right in 1 second. And the thing that I wanted to ask you, Izubee, was where do the Miami Hurricanes go from here? I mean, I think that's the question of the night. They've lost 2 games. This is a program where 12 of the last 17 years, the Hurricanes have lost 3 games in a row. Obviously, that would be cause for enormous angst and an upset Canes Nation under the new regime of Mario Cristobal. So let me start with you. Where do the Hurricanes go from here?
Yeah, so, I thought about that a little bit, and I kind of came to the conclusion. You just kind of, have to move forward and, try to forget about those two losses, but, don't forget about, why you kind of lost those two games. And, you mentioned it a little bit in the intro there, just the turnovers and the miscues and shooting yourself in the foot. Obviously you can't dwell on the past. You can't dwell on the Georgia Tech game. There's, no time machine where, you can hop in and take that knee instead of running the ball. And, there's no time machine where you can, have a better third quarter against North Carolina. But what you can do is just learn for those two games and kind of try to fix those mistakes for, a huge game versus Clemson. That's the difference between, like you mentioned, losing your third game in a row for the last, 13 out of 18 years, or, you bouncing back and beating Clemson for the first time since 2010. So, like I said, you have to move on, kind of leave those games in the past, but don't forget, why you're in this situation now. What is the reason you're looking at your third straight loss, coming off of two very winnable games against Georgia Tech and North Carolina? Fix those little things, but, just like I said, just put those games in the past and fix the little, minute details and things like that, and just keep pushing forward, because, looking and dwelling in the past is never, something that you hear positive about. Oh, you hung on to this, you hung on to that. Move forward, fix what you can, and just hope for a better result and a better product on the field.
So they have a 24-hour rule after wins and losses. You either celebrate or lick your wounds for 24 hours, and then you move on to the next week. I don't know how a 24-hour rule could have possibly applied these last couple weeks. I really don't. How do you forget what happened against Georgia Tech in 24 hours? I don't think it's possible. I think that's something that's going to linger for years with Mario Cristobal, for example. Players, guys your age, Izubee, you guys are more resilient than us older guys. No argument. You can forget bad dates and different things very, very quickly. I think Mario Cristobal is going to take some time to get over that mistake he made against Georgia Tech. And I thought at North Carolina, as much as I want to, compliment everything and be positive, I thought the coaches had some letdowns in that game as well, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. You're seeing things like 12 people on the field after a timeout. You're seeing the defense coordinator running on the field and drawing a 15-yard penalty that gave the other team a critical first down, and they went on and scored a touchdown. I saw the defense totally looking unprepared when North Carolina went to rapid up-tempo offense, and, play calls weren't getting in on time. There was confusion in the secondary. One of them led to a touchdown on 3rd and 20, which is inexcusable. I mean, you have an All-American safety back there and another safety that wants to be an All-American, thinks he's good enough, and, they completed a 40-yard, 39-yard pass for a touchdown on 3rd and 20. I mean, that all leads to losing, man. It's like you're on the road, Izubee. You're playing a night game at North Carolina, a very good team, a team that is 6-0 right now. You can't be anything but on top of your game if you're going to have a chance to win that game in the fourth quarter. And they were not.
Yeah, no, I was very, very disappointed with that game against UNC. Kind of, how I mentioned, a very winnable game. We saw Miami made a few adjustments in that second quarter, went into halftime up 17-14, and then everything just fell apart in that third quarter. UNC comes out, Drake May throws 3 touchdowns after you kind of, held them to a minimum in the first half. And like you mentioned, the up-tempo really caught Miami off guard. And I feel like Miami really never adjusted in that third quarter. And by the time they did, with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, it was too late. You're down 3 scores on the road against an undefeated team that has momentum, that is in front of a roaring crowd. And I was just very disappointed. I feel like the first kind of thing that kind of, had me thinking, here we go again, is when Henry Parrish fumbles across the goal line. It's just you end last game with a fumble in a critical situation, and you start the next game with a fumble in a critical situation. So it was kind of just like head-scratching to see, hey, how are these little things keep happening? And, throughout the game, you see Tyler Van Dyke kind of forcing passes, a few get intercepted. You just see a little bit of things like you mentioned, 12 men on the field after a timeout, little minor things, penalties after a big sack on third down and things like that really shouldn't be happening for a team, at the midpoint way of the year. And it's really, like I said, kind of disappointing to see that. But, like I said, hopefully they can kind of, leave those bad habits in the past, kind of hit that refresh button. You're in the middle of your season now. You kind of, you got the rest of the ACC schedule ahead of you. It's not completely out the picture that you can make a run for the ACC championship. Just clean that slate, come in with a fresh mindset. As easy as it sounds, it's very hard to do, but hopefully, these coaches can get these players right. These coaches can kind of find themselves and get, things sorted out. But just real disappointed in their showing, in Chapel Hill Saturday.
Connor Van Dyke banged up in the game. Was seen walking around with a heavily bandaged leg on campus yesterday. So was seen by a reporter, and it got out there, and it's out in the public domain now. May or may not be able to play. We don't know. His media availability for this week has been canceled, as it was before the opener against Miami of Ohio. They do not want Tyler in a position where he has to talk about his health. It looked pretty obvious to those that saw him that he was having difficulty moving around, and I would say would probably be questionable this week going into Clemson. And so you might have to see Emory Williams and possibly some packages with Ja'Carri Brown in this game. So either way, the Canes have quite the challenge this Saturday. Clemson, yes, they have 2 losses. Yes, they lost at Duke in one of them, but this is a team with a lot of talent, and this will be exactly what everybody thought it would be before the year, which is one of the more difficult outs of the year. But you have them at home. You've lost 5 straight ACC home games. I've been saying it. I said it last week too. It is time to start beating people. Like, this team is good enough to do it. I mean, I mentioned the improvement in, at least from a statistical standpoint, number 7 in the nation total offense, number 13 in scoring offense, number 18 in total defense, number 25 in scoring defense. Last year, those numbers were 85, 96, and 64 and 66. So this is a better football team than a year ago, okay? But it has to stop the bleeding. It needs a big victory, and it's set up for that with Clemson coming to town. Nothing would be bigger than beating Clemson right now. So the opportunity is there. So I want to know from you guys, where do the Canes go from here, man? What do you guys think? 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the number 1 on your keyboard if you want to come on the show. We're going to begin tonight in the 845, where I believe that is Greg. You are live on CaneSport Live. Welcome back. How you doing this evening?
I'm good, Gary. Izubee, how you doing? Okay. I've got so much to talk about. All right. This is what we got with Mario. 9-9 record, 3-7 in the ACC. Like you said, 0-5 at home in the ACC. Okay. Gary, since 2006, we've had one stretch of good football. In the end of 2016 and the beginning of 2017, they won 15 games in a row. Other than that, we've had garbage since 2006. Isn't it about time this stops now? That game, Georgia Tech, is an utter disgrace to the program. How could you make a mistake like that? It's mind-boggling. Mario was never he's not a game coach. He's never an OC. I mean, look at what Mike Elko's doing at Duke. You think Duke has as much talent as we do? Do you think? Look at what Venables is doing at Oklahoma. He's a proven championship coach. Billy Napier's doing a better job than Mario. He's out
we'll
recruiting
see.
now.
Right now he is. Right now he's doing a good job. But I still think Florida, by the end of this thing, will be 6-6. I really do.
Okay. Can I ask you a question? Where the hell is Leonard Taylor? He's going to be a first-round pick? Are you kidding me?
I agree.
Who's going to pick him in the first round? He needs to come back along with Cam Kinchins and James Williams. Do you see the angles they take on some of these plays? They can't. That 60-yard run. Did you see what Cam Kinchins did on that play? He's not playing like an All-American by any stretch.
Well, he never should have been named an All-American. That's not his fault. Nobody ever should have put that label on him. And I said this before the season, if you were listening to me.
One game. I mean,
he got 3 interceptions last year against one of the worst teams in the country, which Georgia Tech was at that time, and everybody decided he's an All-American.
He's not playing like it. By the way,
he's not an All-American.
I know he's not. Where is our defensive tackle recruiting, Gary? Where's our elite corner recruiting? Where's our quarterback recruiting? Where is it, Gary? We struck out on almost every D tackle. It's mind-boggling.
D tackle is a big priority this year. Obviously, they have not been doing as well as they hoped to. They've whiffed on some of the targets that they had. Watch very closely on Saturday when LJ McCray announces. I think Miami's in that one a little bit more than people think. I mean, it's a knockdown drag out, no doubt. But I know this, that when it comes time for LJ McCray to get an NIL deal done, that nobody will be bidding higher than Miami. I'm pretty sure of that. So I think he will go into his decision Saturday with that confidence and knowledge that Miami will have great horizons for him. And that's a big announcement this weekend. If they don't hit on that one, it's slim pickings from there. And I think you're going to see them targeting defensive tackles again in the transfer portal. And hopefully they're fishing a little bit higher for bigger fish than like what they did this year, and like bringing in like a Thomas Gore, for example. I mean, he tries hard. The kid plays his butt off, but I mean, he's not making you better.
Okay, my last point. We've lost 5 straight to Carolina. They have had Sam Howell for 3 games and Drake May for 2. Howell's a starter in the NFL. Drake May is going to be a top pick in the NFL. Look who we've had at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference, Gary.
It's a huge difference.
Jack
You're absolutely
Williams,
right.
Sierra King, and Tyler Van Dyke, who's not a bad quarterback, but he's not a dual threat quarterback. Look at the teams in the ACC that are good. Florida State, Duke, and Carolina. They all have a dual threat quarterback. Hello?
Yeah, you there? We're listening.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We got to get better quarterbacks, Gary. You should claim we have all this NIL money and Judd Anderson is the best we could get.
He was right now, but Emory Williams is very good, and I think they will be in the portal looking to get the best transfer quarterback in the country, and that's been pretty good for a lot of teams the last couple of years. There have been some pretty good quarterbacks that transferred, and you just got to hope that they hit. I mean, Miami should be an appealing destination for one of those guys. And there'll be a competition, and then you'll have a good competition in spring practice.
My last quick – can we look a little at Jason Taylor and Joe Salaveira? Reuben Bain is by far our best defensive lineman. It's not even close. Where is the development of Nigel Lee Kelly, any of these other guys, Chance Williams, and the rest of them? Where are they?
They didn't recruit Chance Williams now, so you can't blame them for that. Nigel Lee Kelly, he was hurt early, and I'm not seeing that it factor with him yet. Now, he supposedly has elite potential, but we certainly have not seen it so far this year. And it's been a little disappointing, quite frankly, Greg. I mean, you're spot on with that point. I don't know if you blame it on the injury or not. We haven't had a chance to discuss that with Jason Taylor. Probably would have been a good question for Lance Guidry this week. We'll try to ask about it next week. But he is not performing at the level they expected. That's for certain. Ruben Bain absolutely is. But you're limited in what you can ask of him. I mean, he gave you a couple big-time plays in the first half at North Carolina. Kind of was not as impactful in the second half. But, he's a true freshman. And he's, he can only give you so much. I mean, this is not, as good as he is and as good as he's going to be, you can't put the whole defense on that guy's shoulders. It's just not reality. So, they needed other guys to step up. It has not happened. I expected Joshua Horton at defensive tackle to be contributing more by now. Maybe the second half of the season, they'll get him a little bit more ready than he was the first half of the season. He's got great potential for sure. But they're pretty much running with what they've got right now, Greg, and it's pretty average as can be, quite frankly. And if Leonard Taylor is not going to step up and be an upper tier college football player, which he has not to this point of his career, then you got a little bit of an issue there, and that's what we've seen, and that's why we saw North Carolina running all over them the other night.
All right, can you just ask Izubee to talk about the effect on recruiting with these two losses, and I'll hang up. Thank you.
All right, you just asked them. Go ahead, Izubee.
Yeah, Greg, a little bit touch on that. I mean, when you talk to the commits and a lot of these top guys, they're saying, hey, we understand, Miami lost the last two games, but they're still being very optimistic. They're saying compared to last year where Miami's at, it's, two completely different teams, obviously, with the overhaul and talent and how they're performing on the field and, the outcome of the games. Obviously, losing those two games hasn't helped recruiting by any means, but I feel like it's not quite time yet to hit the big red panic button where it's like, guys are jumping off ship or guys are looking, actively looking to flip or anything like that. The only guy I would kind of have on, edge right now or kind of has me a little bit thinking is Artavius Jones, who's been flirting in Florida State a lot. He recently visited, and it looks like, they're trying to push really, really hard for him. And they have been since he committed to Miami. But from, the bigger picture with most of the 2024 class, there hasn't been any guys that I've been too worried about that, these two losses have, really impacted how they view Miami or, really any recruit really has, said anything negative about these two losses. Obviously, they understand it's a program with a second-year coach. He's still trying to, get his talent in, but, that's never an excuse. But, from a recruiting standpoint, nothing too crazy. Now, if they continue to lose and continue to, have, games like the Georgia Tech or the North Carolina, maybe that'll cause a little bit of concern. But for now, nothing too crazy is happening, on that side of things when it comes to guys panicking over the two losses.
All right, Greg. By the way, Gary, Clemson beat Wake Forest 17-12 last week, so they're no powerhouse. Thank you.
I understand. I mean, this is an opportunity this week.
We can't come within 40 points of Clemson the last 4 games. We owe them big. Okay.
Well, hopefully this is the week they put it all together, Greg. We've seen flashes. It hasn't all been negative by any stretch of the imagination. I mentioned where we are in the stats. Hopefully they pull it all together. We'll see. All righty, Greg. Hey, thank you so much for getting us going, man. We'll talk to you again next week. All right, 563-999-3550. 563-999-3550 is the number. You hit the number 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. We're going now to the 786. You are live on CaneSport Live.
Gary, how are you, my friend?
Doing great. What's going on, everything? How you doing this week?
Nothing much. Is Izubee still on there as well?
He is.
Yes, sir.
Oh, hey, Izubee. Love the work you're doing, man. You're doing a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
I wanted to bring up a couple of things that y'all have talked about the last couple of weeks. On Good Morning CaneSport and on the message boards, and we keep seeing the same questions and frustrations that we have. Look, there's no excuse for what transpired 2 weeks ago. Bottom line is the coaching staff let these kids down. The game plan wasn't on target. We've gone on, since Temple, it's almost like we're going with 21 sets and no one has to defend these tight ends, and no one does defend the tight end, and you're shelling everything to the wide receivers. It's frustrating that we've taken such a step back, and that goes back to pretty much what Mario really desires. He really wants to incorporate.
Wait a minute. Wait, time out. Let me call a timeout here. They haven't taken a step back. That's the thing. They've taken a major step forward in every area of the team. I mean, the offense is significantly better. The defense is significantly better. The thing that threw this thing all out of whack was losing that Georgia Tech game the way they did, because even if they lost the way they did to North Carolina, they'd be sitting here 5-1 right now at the midway point. And how could you not consider that a colossal improvement over going 5-7 a year ago, right?
And I'll tell you exactly why. Because when you get into conference play, people know how to defend you. What Georgia Tech did was they utilized the KISS principle. They went ahead, took everything away that was deep, and said, beat us. And guess what? Our quarterback can't beat us that way. That was well illustrated the last game, I believe, Manny Diaz's last game, I believe, next to last game up in Tallahassee. That's how you beat TVD. And that's pretty much what everybody did last year. There was definitely a lot of issues with the offensive play calling, the attitude. There's a million things that were wrong, but something that was pretty much revealed back then is his inability to go through progressions correctly, his inability to just rely or ignore everybody else. His safety valve is the main thing. He digressed with that transition in coaching. There's no doubt about it. He digressed. And he hasn't been the same kid. Then he gets hurt, and he's still stuck. As well as things are looking statistically, that doesn't tell you the entire truth. What you see is the truth. Numbers are one thing, but what you do on the field, that's a totally different thing. The interception he threw against Miami of Ohio, he threw the same type of interception against Georgia Tech, threw the same type of interception against North Carolina. So he does have those tendencies, and those are the types of looks that people in this conference are going to give you. Not everybody's going to say, hey, we're going man, beat us. That didn't work out well for Texas A&M. Plus, their corners aren't very good. So what you look at is like, yeah, we've done a bunch of scoring. We're improved, but we're not cutting and dissecting defenses the way we need to. If you give me everything underneath, I take everything underneath. He is so stuck that he doesn't even look to see the backs and the flat. He's definitely digressed, and it comes back to what he's been going through for over the last year and a half. So I think when you look at what Mario's then trying to do what? Well, let's go ahead and make it and minimize his opportunities to go ahead and force the ball into a bad spot by putting tight ends out. A guy like Cam McCormick, when he's in the game, as soon as you put him out wide, he's not catching the ball. They're not throwing his way. I mean, look at the attempts that have been thrown to tight ends. It's minimal at best, and look at the percentage of sets that were 21-set personnel. And that tells you the truth for the last 3 games. I think Bruce Warner was on another show earlier today, mentioned it, and it's the same thing we've been talking about. So there's a tendency there that you have to go ahead and look at what you did the last quarter and the last 3 minutes of the third quarter. where you went ahead and only had one tight end in, and you put more speed out there, and you spread things out a little bit more. And damn it, if we didn't move the ball out better for those last 4 possessions. That didn't happen just because UNC said, well, we're up 14, we're done. No. That happened because you utilized what your strengths are and worried about that. You're not worried about how they're defending you. Now when you go ahead and put more speed on the field, you can play quarters or any type of umbrella coverage or whatever you want to call it. If you can go ahead and force the stuff underneath, you're going to put more pressure on the perimeter of your defense. And those are the types of things that we have to get back to. I mean, yeah, we've been good, but we could be great. You can really put a lot of pressure on these defenses. North Carolina's defense isn't bad, but it's not great. It's not the same level as Clemson's speed all around. You've got to combat and go back to the things that schematically have worked for you. And it doesn't include 21-set personnel because it hasn't been that good for us. So there's an example there. Defensively, there's no excuse for the type of breakdowns we've had now in the secondary. There's no excuse for your head coach on 2nd and 20 when you get a penalty and they're at their own 41, they're at your 41, and you can move them back another 10 yards. You don't move them back, especially when the ball's a little wet and there could be a bad snap, as what happened to us. You always go ahead in that situation and you push somebody back. Does it give a great quarterback another chance? It does. But it's also another chance to throw an interception. And these are the types of things that, you've got to take into consideration. The Guidry situation, I'm not going to get too upset at that because he never saw the guy. He couldn't see him from his vantage point. He never saw the guy. Bottom line, he got flagged for it. Bottom line is every time we play in a game, when there's something crucial, we're going to get screwed. That has not changed since we entered this conference. There's only been one game that we pretty much stole, and that was that game at Duke in that last kickoff possession, which whatever you want to call that play. There's only been one time when we've actually been given a game, okay? And that's not going to change. So you've got to go ahead and have the mentality of you've got to destroy and put as much pressure on the defense as you can. That's where it starts. Number 2, you're not going to be able to stop the run with these defensive tackles. Jerry, we talked about this way back when. Common Score, Dean, those are nice guys. You got a guy, Leonard Taylor, who's lazy. He's here one play, takes 6 plays off, then he comes back. Same guy. And the proof is in the pudding. You got a guy like Harrison Hunte who doesn't have half his ability. He's getting more snaps because he's playing his snaps hard. Mm-hmm. So there's a disappointment right there. And then you go ahead and you look at our health defensive end. We don't have Mesidor. And whether you want to acknowledge this or not, a healthy Mesidor is a huge impact on this defense.
No doubt.
It most definitely is. Especially
the shame he's always hurt. He's never healthy.
And these are the things that you've got to take, and you've got to play games, and you got to fool your coverage, and you got to keep that quarterback on his heels by changing things around and moving pressure from everywhere. You can only use smoke and mirrors so long. Bottom line is got to stop the run. And they did not do a bad job on this kid. This kid's a great quarterback. I'm not going to take anything away from the kid. But you can't tell me that we were always in the right situation and the right call on defense because we weren't. And defensive tackle-wise, I was killed, and I think you even warned me one time, Gary, hey, settle down with the comments about FSU in the transfer portal back in December. And I said it then, and I'll say it now. Mike Norvell has destroyed the transfer portal. It's not who you get, it's what you get. He's getting kids that come in and play and are impactful right away. We have not done a good job in the transfer portal. Other than maybe the first, we got a couple of kids, and those kids aren't panning out. So, you know what? We're not going to build this thing through high school kids at your core. It's not going to happen here. You don't have enough things going your way. Okay, we're not a traditional school. You've got to go out and buy the best that you can buy. And if you don't do that and you don't live in the portal, you're not going to be successful. Your young bucks and your babies can come, and they'll take 2 or 3 years if they're good kids, and eventually they'll get there. Nigel Lee Kelly's a perfect example of that. he's far from, he's not even scratching the surface yet.
No, and it's disappointing as hell. I mean, that kid we were told was going to be elite, and he's now a year and a half into it, and he's not close to elite. I don't understand it. I mean, I know he was derailed a little bit by injury in camp and stuff, but he should be. We're in the middle of the season now. He should be further along, and there's many. He's got some company, obviously. From an individual standpoint, I mean, how many guys on this team are playing at an elite level? Not many.
Well, I'm going to be fair here. I would say that James Williams is starting to realize what he needs to do as a player. Okay?
Yeah, but he should be a linebacker. He's not a safety.
Exactly. And he's getting more and more play in the box. So those things are coming around. That kid has grown. That kid's developed. That kid's gotten better. Cam got hurt. You're not the same guy when you're a play away from being paralyzed. Let's just be honest here. And when you can't move and you're in that situation, it takes a while to bounce back, guys. Okay? So I'm not going to be too upset at him like Greg is. Does he have a tendency now to have to, in his mind, that he's got to play hero ball? Yeah, he does. Because the rest of the guys around him for the last 2 years haven't done shit. So he's got to step up his game. He's got to. He understands what he's got to do. Yeah, they've gotten better. They're working hard. Oh, things are great. Everybody works hard. Shit, everybody gets better. Yep. So you've got a guy that's understanding that he has to carry the load on that defense. And he's coming off of a very, very serious scare that obviously he's not going to be the same kind of guy. Is he going to play in the NFL, Greg? Yeah, he's going to play in the NFL. At worst, he's a second rounder right now. Is he elite?
Do you think he's a second rounder right now? I don't think he's a second rounder right now.
I definitely think he is. I definitely think he is. Alone, he's head and shoulders above most of the free safeties and strong safeties in the country. He's extremely bright. His football IQ is beyond sound.
We'll see. I've seen that. You can say his football IQ is off the charts or whatever the term was you just used. I've seen, and I'm not knocking it. Listen, I want him to be the greatest player ever to play at University of Miami. But I've also seen him directly contribute in a major way to at least 3 of the losses the last 2 seasons, with coverage busts in the secondary. And you could almost, if the game had been a little closer the other night, you could almost make the argument of 4 because he was in a position to make the play on that deep ball on 3rd and 20. So, we'll see.
Here's why. Why is that the case? Why is that the case?
I don't know why.
I'm telling you why. I just gave you the answer. Because the people around him, the Tory Couches of the world, are still indecisive and don't communicate and freeze. And you've got guys that have come in that are playing corner now that they're making the same type of mistakes. They're not communicating well. And that's been going on here for years since this kid's been here.
Yeah, well, obviously it has to get better. All right, everything. I got to let you run, man.
All right, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for being. You got it, man. Thank you for being part of the show. Izubee, man, so many guys that we felt were going to break through this year are not breaking through. I mean, Nigel Leak is one for sure. I mean, Cam is not playing great football right now. I think James Williams is playing pretty good, but those are flashes here and there. Ruben Bain is playing pretty good. You can't expect a true freshman to sustain it for the entire game. Where do they go, Izubee, to find elite?
Yeah, no, that's $1 million question. If someone had that answer, man, they'd be making a lot of money. But kind of touching base on guys kind of being a little bit of disappointment, it's not living up to their thing or their hype. I would say the only guy I've been truly, truly disappointed with this year is probably Leonard Taylor, because you mentioned, Nigel Lee Kelly. Obviously, he's been battling a couple of injuries, so he hasn't been at 100% all year. Cam Kitchen had that scary injury. He hasn't been at 100% all year, but Leonard Taylor, I mean, what's his kind of big knock this year? He came in with that first-round hype, and a lot of people said, you know, it's going to be his year that he does everything, and he's kind of grown up a little bit. But, you know, I really haven't seen anything that is, you know, jaw-dropping or, oh, this guy's a first-round talent, or, you know, this guy's made, you know, leaps and jumps of becoming a better player that he was from last year. With James Williams, we see that James Williams is 100% a better player than he was last year. He's staying healthy. He's doing much better than a lot of people thought, and, you know, he's doing better than last year. But with Leonard Taylor, that's one guy that I'm kind of scratching my head right now and saying, you know, what's going on with LT? Obviously, 6 games through the season now, and we're still kind of, you know, having games where, like, where was he this entire game? And, you know, obviously, you know, I think Ruben Bain is the best defensive lineman at Miami right now, and it's good and bad to say because he's a true freshman that was playing high school football a year ago, you know, today, and he's coming in competing against guys that have been in college 2 or 3 years. He has a high motor. He's doing the most that he can. He almost had a strip sack that could have been a touchdown in the end zone for you know, Miami against UNC, and he's making these big plays. He's constantly, you know, you see his name, he's drawing penalties, things like that. So it's been a couple guys to this point, but the biggest one to me is Leonard Taylor, and kind of going back to the talent acquisition. It's just honestly bringing in the right guys for the program, because Ruben Bain is, you know, when Miami was recruiting him, they said that's the type of guy they needed to bring in, and you're not going to find, you know, 10 or 11 Ruben Bains on the field. So just finding that right guy, finding the guy that's going to play every down, finding a guy like, I hate to keep going back to his name, but Ruben Bain was crying after the game because he lost, and you need to find guys that want to compete for all 4 quarters and, you know, put their all into it, which is something that's very, very hard to find, but the good coaches can, and the good coaches can bring that out of people. But just, you know, that's $1 million question, Gary. You know, finding the right guys to plug into your program and to create that, you know, atmosphere and culture around the team to be successful.
I mean, Izubee, it's a joke, okay? It is a total joke. And listen, plenty of blame goes to the coaches. They haven't done great the last 2 weeks. But, like, Leonard Taylor is, when they do mock drafts for the draft in April, Leonard Taylor is universally acclaimed as the best player on this Miami Hurricanes team. Mel Kiper projected him to be the number 13 pick in the first round of the NFL draft in April. He played 36 out of 80 reps on Saturday night in a big game on the road. 36 reps! That's all they could put him out there. It's ridiculous. I mean, Ruben Bain, a true freshman, is playing 72 out of 80 snaps on defense Saturday night at North Carolina. That is ridiculous, okay? And Nigel E. Kelly, who's supposed to be a star of the present for the Miami Hurricanes, is barely making an impact. He's grading out, average as can be, and he was out there less than Leonard Taylor. He only had 31 reps. What is going on? When are Miami Hurricanes football players going to look at themselves in the mirror and decide and remember why they came to play at this school? I mean, this is a joke, okay? And this is why, as a fan base, we keep going through this every single year. Like, when is it going to change, okay? These guys must look at this themselves in the mirror. I'm looking at Matt Lee, who comes in as a transfer, the toughest guy in the world, and I know he screwed up that snap the other day. He played 81 snaps. Francis Managoa, a freshman offensive tackle, he played 81 snaps. Xavier Restrepo, 79 snaps. It was the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. You guys should have seen Xavier Restrepo trying to walk off that field the other night. I mean, he could barely walk. You know, the guys on this team, there's so few of them that are carrying their weight. They need to look themselves in the mirror. Leonard Taylor, look at yourself in the mirror. Nigel E. Kelly, look at yourself in the mirror. Wesley Bassane, we need more than 33 average reps out of you in a big game on the road on a Saturday night. You can't win like this, Izubee. I'm sorry. They can't win like this, and that is why the fan base is being put through season after season, And I know Mario's trying to change it, but you just need so many players here. They turned 41 spots, and they might turn another 20 after this season because they got a lot of guys on this team that are not carrying their weight, and they're not going to sit around and wait for another average season. They will clean house again if they need to.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be interesting to see the second half of the season. Like you mentioned, what players step up and what players can bounce back from injuries, because obviously a lot of guys have been picking up a little nicks and knacks in here, and that's never an excuse for anything. But a lot of guys, aren't kind of living up to expectations that people had entering the season and things like that. And, obviously Miami's in a much better place than they were last year, but you can just see the potential in these guys, and that's what I feel like is the biggest thing. These guys can do it. These guys, if they put everything together, they can be these first-round, draft picks that people mock them to have, or they can, fulfill all these, big hopes and aspirations people have for them. So I feel like that's the hardest part, or the toughest thing to swallow about it. Just, these guys have it all, the skills, the size, everything. Just you need to put it all together, which is kind of the hard part. But, you got a half of a season left to kind of figure that out, coaches, players, and all that. So that's kind of one storyline that I'm really going to be intrigued to watch is, can Miami kind of get these guys in the right mindset? Can you get these guys performing at the highest level that they can? Because you've seen a few guys, stepping up their game, like I mentioned, James Williams stepping up, transfer, Matt Lee, Francisco Malgo, Francis Malgo, all these guys stepping up, Ruben Bain. So it's there. Just, you want to see these guys kind of perform to their fullest capability.
Yeah, we still don't see none of the freshman linebackers have emerged this year for whatever reason. I don't know what the future holds there. We'll have to see. We haven't really seen very much of them at all. I think the wide receiver position has stepped up big time this year. All those guys are playing better. Mad kudos to Kevin Beard. But when the coaches let down and have bad moments, this team's in big trouble. And that's what's happened in the last 7 days. All right, I had to get my rant out because of our next caller is certainly going to upstage that. So let's go to the 757, the home of Kane. You're live on CaneSport Live.
You ain't got nothing. I don't have nothing. I ain't getting loud and arguing. Izubee, what's up? Gary, what's up? I'm just going to break down some little small, simple things. All Miami need to do is man up, stand up. That's it. It's man up, stand up time. You got 6 games left. All of a sudden, we won't make 6-6, or we'll barely make 6-6. If we can't try to win the 3 home games, maybe so. But other than that, I ain't tripping, man. So if I expected us to win it all, I did, because I'm just that crazy type of person. Now, that's out the way. Now, I see this Cam thing. Now, I'm not going to get on you. I'm just going to try to see what we got going on here. Yeah, Cam might have cost us 3 games, but I can tell you who ain't beat nobody. Tyler Van Dyke is straight trash. Now, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to be real, and I'm not going to curse. He looks into when they play zone defense, he don't know what to do. He threw, like Izubee said, the interception in North Carolina. Look right at him. They looking at him. They know what he's going to do now, Gary. You talk about this player, that player, but you really don't never talk about TVD. And when he was doing good at the beginning of the year, I was hearing Heisman. I wasn't feeling that crap. Heisman what? He ain't beat nobody. He done lost to Carolina 3 years straight. He messed up against FSU 2 years ago in the first half, looked like trash, but he came back and we still didn't win. Until you beat FSU, he's still nowhere to me. He does not have no mobility. Izubee, I don't even like running quarterbacks, but you know what? At this time, we need somebody. Jakari, Wimp, I don't care. You're going to say they ain't ready. I'm tired of hearing who ain't ready. It's over, Gary. Forget all that. Rashad Smith played his butt off. He got that breakaway speed, flew by the defender twice. Restrepo, great receiver, but he looks for him too damn much. Yeah, he played 80% or 80 plays. He's a good player. Great possession receiver. He's like the Don Beebe's of the NFL to play with the Bills. He got that. He'll make the league because he's a great possession receiver and got good hands. But he ain't going to take the top off nothing. But Josh Smith gonna take the top off something. You got to play these other players. And I know you say about your boy, what's his name? The tight end that don't never get in that we recruit and got from Alabama. Yeah, I'll swipe my card for you.
Leo Skinner, he's a bust. He'll be in the transfer portal.
You want to use your credit card. Oh, you think Skinner will be in the portal?
He'll be in the portal after this year.
No, the number ain't gonna work. Yeah, I guess. But see, my thing is when we got down there at halftime, right before halftime, put all your tight ends in. Do something, Gary. Don't throw no little screen pass to Paris. They ran that all day. If you don't have no faith in your tight ends, they'll get rid of all of them. You got to try. It's called failure. We are failing. Tight ends, 5 catches in 6 games. Boy, you know that's bad. Izubee, you know that's bad. But like I said, I'm not going to argue and fuss. I'll be in the game this week. I don't know who's going to be at quarterback. But hell, maybe if it's somebody different than me, oh, damn, we don't know what we're going to do. We know what Tyler, we play zone, we got him. Now you go, man, he can get the ball out. His movement is bad. Then why would Tyler say, well, my hand from, don't do that. If your hand been still by, sit your butt on that bitch. We don't need you. We'll figure it out. Last week, after the game, we want to talk about it. Hey, Gary, you don't do that. That ain't manning up. You got to man up in this world. Man up, stand up time for the Cane. Leonard Taylor, everybody. The whole team, man up, stand up. That's all I got to say. I don't know about see y'all Saturday night. I was surprised it was a night game, but I'm going to eventually find you. You know where the big scoreboard is right there in the front? Where do y'all be? Southwest, Northwest? Where y'all be? It's a big stadium. Where y'all usually be located?
We're Southwest, usually. Until at least till Canes Walk, we're usually down by the southwest corner.
I ain't never seen one of them, but I'm going to try to get to see one of them. But like I said, I got 3 more games I'm coming to. But, hey, all we got to do is man up, stand up. We can go 9-3. 8-4 to me is it. If you do go on to 8-4, we got a little problem in the house. But you got 3 home games. Try to win the home games and everything will be fine. And beat FSU. With that being said, I was very nice tonight. So with that being said, I'm out. Love y'all. Canes fans, don't get disappointed. We're going to be all right. The time will come. The money is there, and I don't like the NIL, but this is what it takes these days. Like the man said, you're not going to win with, high school kids. It's all about the money. Maybe that went to his head, too. Who knows? Well, until next time, see y'all Saturday. Let's rock and roll 305, ride or die, and I will be inside the stadium on Saturday night. 2 tears in the bucket. I'm out. Take care, y'all.
All right, Kane, thanks for calling and being a part of the show. He's a little subdued tonight. I thought he'd be all fired up. All right, 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550 is the number. Hit the 1 on your keypad if you would like to come on the show. We got plenty of room on the board for everybody. Let's get some first-time callers in here. Right now, let's go to the 727. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, Gary, it's Jake from St. Pete. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Jake? How you doing this week?
Good. Actually, I'm checking in from Salt Lake City now, but
right,
I was glad to see you with some fire. That was out of the ordinary, and I like to see it. That's no more excuses for this team.
Oh my God, man! It's like, come on already, man! It's like every year the same thing. I mean, how do you have the NFL looking at you saying you're a first-round draft pick and you can't even show up ever on Saturdays ever? Look, let's face it. Mock drafts this time of year tend to be. They're looking at his body type as a first-round draft pick, NFL body type. He has the ability, but he doesn't put in the work. Honestly, with Leonard Taylor, if he left in the portal this offseason, I'm okay with it. 3 years, he's been disappointing every single year. He shows flashes against mid-range opponents, but he's never done anything in a big game. I would say that. Except right now they got nobody else.
Well, I mean, and so this is something I wanted to bring up. For a minute I let my guard down with Mario, and he just brought back every anxiety I had about him being our head coach. And I would say even worse because, when he was out west at Oregon, yes, he definitely did some big things recruiting out there. But let's not forget, he had the West Coast all to himself. USC was garbage. Washington was garbage. And, Bama and Georgia can only spend so much time flying out there. He had it all to himself. He is not – I'm sorry, but his recruiting, I would give it a B.
Jake,
he recruited –
what you're saying is not untrue, but at Oregon he recruited the top player from 9 different states the last year he was there.
Yeah, but you get the player from Alaska who gives a shit. There's about 6
I don't think
states
Alaska was one of the 9.
Well, New York was one of them. Who cares? The top player from New York is ranked number 40 in the state of Florida or Georgia. So,
recruiting is not a problem for Mario. Listen, he screwed up the Georgia Tech game. Nobody would argue with that. He absolutely did. It was inexcusable. And he got what it warranted. I mean, he was disgraced all over America for that, and will be remembered for that maybe for the rest of his coaching career. Like, that was a career altering
if you've done that one time in a vacuum, fine. But that's the second time, and he had 3 games at Oregon that he jagged because of terrible clock management. So this is, it's not an anomaly. It's a trend. If that was the first time that happened and he just got caught up in the heat of the moment, fine. But this is a regular trend. But getting back to the recruiting, is it better? Yes, but it's not great. We just lost Aiden Breland. I think it's very likely LJ McCray goes elsewhere. Defensive tackle went from, we thought we're getting several 5-stars to a train wreck disaster again 2 years in a row. But what he's got Maui Noah and Reuben Bain this year. It looks like Riley Williams is going to have some talent. But other than that, what do we have to show for 2 recruiting classes? Huge disappointment. Jaleel Skinner is a disaster. He's a bust. 2 freshmen this year look like they're going to be great. Other than that, who else is out there? Who am I missing?
I mean, I think you have to hope that Samson Okinola develops. I mean, he wasn't ready as a true freshman, and now he's hurt. But I think you have to hope that he develops. Francis Matagola has obviously done great. Reuben Bain's done great. Jaden Wayne, even though I don't think he's even close to great right now, is playing a lot.
I think he could be good.
Let me finish answering your question.
Okay.
I think Riley Williams is going to be elite as a tight end if they ever throw the damn ball to him. I think Ray Joseph can be a solid contributor. I think his size, I've been watching, his size is going to limit, to me, how great of a player
he'll be the next Restrepo.
I don't know. Restrepo isn't anywhere near as fast as Ray, but he's thick. And he's crafty. If Ray could be 3/4 of as good as Restrepo is right now, that would be good enough. But we don't know yet about the freshman linebackers. We're not seeing anything from any of them. Bobby Washington, Caleb Spencer, Malik Bryant, none of those guys, Popo Aguirre. We're not seeing anything out of them this year. I'm a little bit surprised by that, but it is a tough position to play as a true freshman, no argument. But Emory Williams has looked very good. They have very high hopes for him at quarterback. Jackson Carver has been doing decently at tight end. Dylan Joyce has been a phenomenal punter. Mark Fletcher was playing great as a true freshman before he got hurt. Some of these freshman DBs, Robert Stafford, Damari Brown, I thought we might see a little bit more of them this year. It has not worked out that way to this point. Christopher Johnson, a little bit of a smaller back, but he's got that great speed. But you're not going to put him out there ahead of the guys that are playing. So, we'll see how the future goes there. I'm very surprised that Joshua Horton is not contributing more. I think he's got great potential as a defensive tackle, but he is a true freshman. Tommy Kinsler is being developed. He's going to be a great offensive lineman down the road. I feel very strongly about that. Demetrius Freeney is a cornerback that came in as a JUCO. He's supposed to be playing right now, and he's not. I'm not sure what the deal is there. Maybe he's banged up. Javion Cohen came in as a transfer, was supposed to be an elite offensive lineman. I'm watching him getting pushed backwards against North Carolina the other night. I was stunned to see that.
So my point is, Siri.
The point I'm getting at is that this last recruiting class, I think we don't know what the final grade, so to speak, is going to be on this recruiting class, but it certainly hasn't been a disaster.
Well, so it has and it hasn't. If we're expecting slightly better than Manny Diaz, then yes, success. But if we're expecting top 10 level performance, no, it hasn't. It's been a complete bust, and even worse. Jury's still out on the recruiting. They still got a year or so to see what we've got working with there. You can't expect every freshman to be a stud. But
we're not.
The transfer portal, Mario has been a disaster in the transfer portal. He has been absolutely atrocious.
I would agree.
He's maybe gotten
5 out of 17
Matt
guys.
Lee?
Yeah. Matt Lee was a great pickup.
Great pickup. Other than that,
I think
Hakeem Mesidor can stay healthy.
Javion Cohen's still a very good pickup. Francisco Mayagoa was a very good pickup. Look, they whiffed on a lot of the DBs for sure.
But that's like 4 out of 30. That's a pretty low hit rate. You do that state of the U.
Yeah. It's not what they would have wanted, no doubt.
And have you asked, or has there been anything? Shannon Dawson seems.
Jake, hey, all that said, they should be 5-1 right now. Okay,
the coaching is better this year. It is, but the problem being is Mario's a terrible game day coach, and coaching can't just be good; it's got to be elite. Because he doesn't know what's going on half the time, and here's the problem too. Though I think the culture, a lot of the same crap we're seeing. They come off the bye. I have to think Drew Rosenhaus is in everybody's ear the week after Temple, whispering sweet nothings about the NFL draft, and everyone thinks they're the next first round pick. And then, they show up and lay an egg. It's the same old. The boneheaded penalties, same old. Not hanging onto the ball in key moments, same old. So it's like, how much of the culture 2 years into this experiment is improving? I thought it looked like we had turned a corner, but coming off the bye, the wheels fell off the bus. This Clemson game is a must-win because we're already dead in the water in recruiting right now. We're not flipping anybody with this performance, and if we lose to Clemson, forget it. Now you're hoping you can hold your class together, not actually pick up anyone of any quality. And we've still got a lot of holes to fill, especially with the guys who haven't stepped up. One thing I wanted to ask, the tight end, I think they need to flip it around and just call it extra tackle. We talked a couple of weeks ago. You asked me what I thought was wrong with the offense. I had no complaints at the time, but you said if I had a critique, it would be the lack of tight end. This is staggering. Shannon Dawson didn't use it, but I looked. He averaged 3 receptions a game. The 2 years at Houston, we are averaging 0.5 receptions a game by a tight end. It's pathetic. no shit a defense could throw 8 in the secondary or 8 in coverage because they're basically playing 3 on 7 or 8. There's no running back passes. If they do, they go nowhere. The 1 or 2 times a game, and then the tight end's an extra tackle. They may as well put McCoy in there or Tommy Kinsler or someone. Why bother with the tight end?
Well,
they're not going to catch a pass.
Shannon Dawson talked about it Monday. He did say that we would see more passes to the tight end second half of the season. So we'll see. I agree. They haven't used those guys enough. Riley Williams looks like he's a great player. Needs to be part of the deal, no doubt.
Find out what you got. You can't.
Arroyo is healthy now. Use him.
Yeah. I don't even know why they tried him out 6 plays if they weren't planning on doing anything.
Yeah, I just think that they've gotten a little bit off schedule, man. This last 7 days from hell, man, have kind of thrown them a little off schedule. They've got to take a deep breath and get it back quick.
This is a huge week. I mean,
yeah.
If they can't get this thing back on track this week, I think we could be looking at a real disaster. And you're talking 7-5, and that's backpedaling. I don't buy this bullshit.
Victory yet either, Jake. We would have tested in Georgia Tech as a victory too, and it wasn't. So 1 week at a time, man.
We'll see how it goes. That's it. Appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you next week, hopefully after a win.
All right, Jake. Thanks for the call, man. All right, 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550 is the number. You hit the number 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. And Izubee, we're an hour and 7 minutes into the show, and you're still with us, I assume.
Of course.
What do you think?
Honestly, I gotta circle back to what Kane said about the we're pointing a lot of fingers, but not too many at Tyler Van Dyke. And as a quote unquote leader of the team and captain and your quarterback supposed to be the guy, hasn't been playing too hot these last 2 games too, and a lot of the blame kind of goes over his head a little bit. Obviously, he's thrown or has I think 6 or 7 turnovers the last 2 games, which is kind of crazy. Obviously, the snap was low, but you've seen quarterbacks before get low snaps and things like that too. So if you kind of continue to see that kind of trajectory trend where he's throwing 3 or 4 interceptions, but he has almost 400 yards, and you kind of forget about that. That might be a topic you might have to bring up too. Is Tyler Van Dyke the guy for the job too? Obviously, there isn't much behind him where you can say you have a real quarterback competition, but that's just something that really caught my mind, and I thought about it a little bit more after he said that. Is some of the blame can you start putting on Tyler Van Dyke a little bit for how he's playing and how he's kind of being predictable. I know Dabo Swinney kind of pointed out today too how he kind of keens in and focuses on Xavier Streppo. It seems like 99.9% of the times when he's throwing, obviously not that much, but definitely want to see him bounce back and cut down the turnovers for sure and things like that. But no, I definitely I'm going to keep a close eye on that these next 3 games as well.
Yeah, I just, you got Emery, a true freshman. You got Jakari, who's just not flat good enough right now, if he'll ever be. I mean, I think it's Tyler Van Dyke or bust, quite frankly. I mean, and he may not even be able to play this week. We'll see how it transpires. But he's had some bad plays, no argument. I have a hard time blaming the bad snap on him. I mean, it was pretty wide, but, in an ideal world, he knocks it down and covers it. But I think he was so stunned that Matt Lee was making a bad snap. I mean, Matt Lee has been rock solid from the day he stepped foot on campus. I mean, who in the world ever would have expected him to screw up with a bad snap? So, Tyler might have been a little caught off guard with that one, I would say. But, look, he's made a lot of great plays, too. I have a hard time saying he has to step down and be replaced right now. I don't see how that makes this football team better. I know a lot of fans have been debating it on the message boards and stuff. I have a hard time with that one. I do not see how that would make the Miami Hurricanes a better team right now. All right, 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. Hit the 1 on your keypad if you would like to come on the show. Let's go out to the 347. You are live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, what's up, Gary? BK Hurricane.
Hey, what's up, BK? How you doing this week?
I'm doing all right. The 2 weeks of watching, the Canes just self-destruct was kind of alarming. It's almost as if it was a trickle-down effect from Georgia Tech. Anything that could go wrong went wrong at Georgia Tech, and it just all kind of trickled down to North Carolina.
I don't think it was a trickle-down effect at all. I mean, I hear you, but the team played very hard from start to finish. They just, they had those couple bad plays on offense, and then on defense, they were not prepared for the tempo that North Carolina played with offensively. And North Carolina caught them and they were snapping the ball. Guys were still standing up. They weren't even in their stance, and they were pushing the pile and getting extra yards. And the secondary was busting because they weren't getting their calls straight. And the whole thing became chaos on the defensive side of the ball.
Right. What I mean by that is from the coaching staff. The coaching staff did them a disservice at Georgia Tech, and they get to North Carolina, and now it's the defensive coaching staff that's not prepared. So it was like, the prior week it was the head coach and maybe the offensive coordinator, and this week it's the defensive coordinator. I mean, like, who's next? The special teams coordinator going to, mess up next week too, and like it's his turn now? We're going to start missing field goals and block punts and block kicks and all this stuff. I mean, it's just terrible. And after rewatching the game, I just kind of noticed little things. And you mentioned Matt Lee in particular, because as I'm watching the game, I'm like, every time when Tyler Van Dyke was in shotgun, I'm like, why is the ball just floating out to him? I mean, I caught it right away. The ball was just kind of just floating out to him, as opposed to you're in the shotgun, the center gets you the ball. But the ball just seems to just kind of floating. And I'm thinking, is there something wrong with Matt Lee? I was saying that the whole game. I'm like, I think there's something wrong with it, because I've never seen the ball just float from the center to the quarterback as much as I did on Saturday. That's one thing, right? The other thing is, you mentioned it earlier in a prior conversation. I'm not sure who was with it, about how we may have to hit the portal again.
Oh, they're going to have to hit the portal.
If things go right, that we're going to have to hit the portal again. But what is Alonzo Highsmith doing? I thought he was like the eyes and ears of knowing who's which players worthy of being whatever. Like,
I hope that's
which
what
players
he's doing.
worthy of being recruited.
I hope he's involved in the evaluation of every single guy they recruit.
You said you hope he is, or he is?
I think he is, but I mean, I'm not in there monitoring that every second of every day.
And that's the problem, because I was under the perception that was one of his main duties, coming from being a personnel guy in the NFL.
Yeah, of
knowing
course
how to spot talent. And
it should be. I assume it is.
Yeah. I know Matt Shadell would say, if we're going to go in the transfer portal, we can't go after Jags. We can't go after backup guys. We have to go after guys that could come in and start immediately. We have too many guys that came in from the transfer portal that are buried on a bench on a bad team. So what was the point of even bringing these guys in if they can't contribute immediately? What's the point of that? So this is going to be
I think you got to try to find guys that can contribute immediately. I mean, I think that's your goal. I mean, you're not going to hit on all of them, and they just didn't hit on enough of them this year.
I'm looking at North Carolina's team. A couple of those guys that got out of the portal, and they're the stars.
That receiver was ridiculous. Yeah.
Ches Walker started a team.
I think he came from North Carolina.
Back, Hussein or Hussein, whatever his name is, started a team. Like, these are guys from the portal, FCS schools.
I know.
They're the elite players on that team, making a difference. Like,
so, I do think they will be back in the portal looking for those guys. I really do. I think a lot of these guys have disappointed this year. They are not playing to the level that they expected them to. I think some of the guys that were expected to be amongst the better players on the team are not playing at the level they expected them to. All of that said,
not even close.
This should be a 5-1 football team right now. This is a team that has played to 5-1. I know they gave away the Georgia Tech game, but I'm just saying they have played to 5-1.
Right.
And they didn't play well against Georgia Tech. They should have won the game.
They didn't. Every time I see Corey Couch on that field, I'm thinking to myself, he's the best we got.
He is. That's why he's.
I'm like, this is the best we have.
I know, and he gives up so many plays. Jaden Davis, God bless him, he made some big plays in the run game against Texas A&M and stuff, but he struggles in pass coverage. He did it at Oklahoma. We're seeing it here. Darryl Ford's pretty solid the whole year.
We have no backup safeties. It's terrible.
No, we have no backup safeties
terrible.
right
no
now.
No quarterbacks, no backup safety. If James Williams or Cam Hitchens go out for any stretch of time,
decently as a backup, but not so great that they didn't think that Cam and James Williams had to go 80 snaps each last week. No, I mean it's still a very thin team, and that's why we're going to see a lot of movement again in the off season.
And the worst part about Saturday's game against Clemson is, Gary, this is what's going to define. Believe it or not, it's going to be this game that's going to define the season.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we lose to Clemson, we're looking at 5-7 again. Possible.
Yeah, anything's possible, but I agree that this week is
Louisville. Those aren't guaranteed wins.
Louisville lost to Pitt.
We're not even favored in those games.
So Louisville is capable of a very good game, but they lost to Pitt this weekend, which is not a very good team.
But Pitt, that's what Pitt does. For as long as Narduzzi has been there, that's just what they do. They could be the worst team, and they will pull out a good win. That's just what Pitt does. I wasn't even surprised by that. But I'm just
Louisville will not be a layover. Like that'll be a tough game. Virginia, and I'm thinking Boston College should be.
Those are only two, I would say, guaranteed wins.
Yeah, they should be. NC State.
So what are we looking at?
Hopefully they can go up there and beat NC State. And if they beat Clemson, they'll have a good year.
I forgot about NC State. Jesus Christ.
Look, they can turn it around with a big showing this week. Let's take 1 week. Let's take 1 week at a time. Look, I strongly advise that for everyone's health. 1 week at a time.
I agree, but to be honest with you, before the season started, a lot of us predicted 7-5, 8-4. So that's kind of that's
right.
As of right now. That kind of looks like the trajectory that they're on.
Well, you get in the heat of the battle, everybody gets excited, and all the expectations start changing. And when you look as good as they looked against Texas A&M, it was with justification that the expectations changed.
Right.
All right,
but
BK.
At this point, 8-4 would be right on, spot on.
Well, we'll see. But,
all right, let's hope so. But thanks a lot, Gary.
Thank you as always for being part of the show, man. We'll talk to you next week. All right, 563-999-3550. 563-999-3550 is the number. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you would like to come on the show. Let's go to the 706. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, Gary. Hey, Izubee. This is your boy, Sebastian. Good evening, gentlemen.
Sebastian, what's up, my man?
Nothing much, man. I want to make sure Izubee didn't fall asleep. So I
man,
just want to kind of get your.
I'm making sure that I got that, Sebastian. I'm making sure. He gets up. He didn't get up as early as Matt and start working, but he gets up early and starts grinding it out, man. I got to make sure. I don't know how you can fall asleep on this show, though. There's always somebody ranting and raving.
I totally get it. Hey, Gary, don't cut my time short, but let me give a shout out to both you, the whole team, Izubee, Matt. You guys really bring a different perspective, and you guys really enhance our fan experience. Watching the Hurricanes try to bring this thing back on tap. Matt in the morning, as negative as he is, he really brings out some points, and he gives us an opportunity to kind of see things a little bit differently. And so I appreciate that, and I appreciate all that you guys do to kind of really just give us an insight what's going on to the team. Hey, this question is for Izubee, but I want you to listen in on it, Gary, because I want to hear you guys' perspective on it. I could easily be negative tonight, and I am so disappointed on us losing to North Carolina and the way we lost to Georgia Tech. But if I really if I just break the season down, we're at the halfway point of the season, I kind of feel like we kind of don't know. I believe we're somewhere in the middle, and I want to see you guys' perspective on it. Are we more of at the halfway point of the season, are we more convinced that we're a 5-1 team? Or are we more convinced that we're a 3-3 or 4-2 team? Because it's the thing we needed to do to improve our football team. And the metrics and the stats show that. If we just take a knee and we beat Georgia Tech by 3 points, Alabama beat Arkansas by 3 points. So a win, however you get it, is how you get it. Mm-hmm. Is the whole outlook of our football team completely different if we take a knee at Georgia Tech and still lose to 10 points in North Carolina on a game that we could have won? Are we having a totally different conversation this week if those things have occurred? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say 1,000%. Because like you mentioned, the numbers are there. Obviously, that Georgia Tech loss kind of, fogged up a little bit of things for how fans view the program, and then you follow that up with a game that you should win against UNC. But if you take that knee, that Georgia Tech game is, no one's talking about that at all. You win by 3 points, you get a, quick scare, all right. UNC game. UNC was a game that obviously not a lot of people, I didn't think Miami was going to win it even before the game. Not going to win it, but it would have been a very, very hard game to win. So you're coming off, like you mentioned, you're 5-1 now. You're heading into Clemson. I feel like this is a completely different perspective now rather than having, that Georgia Tech loss. Now you're 4-2. Because like you mentioned, the numbers are there. Number 7 offense in the country, number 18 defense in the country. Across the board, the numbers look good compared to last year. Only kind of blemishes are turnovers and penalties, which is something, that could be fixed. That are small things that are fixable. But there's the big numbers that you look at, offense and defense. Miami's ranked top 25 in both those areas. So I feel like if you look at it, this team looks more of a 5-1 team than a 3-3 or a 4-2 team. Just one big error kind of changed the perspective and how people view the team right now. And I feel like if that game changes, a lot of people are saying a lot of different things about the Hurricanes right now headed to the Clemson game.
Yeah.
I'm with you guys.
I don't know if Gary wants to say something. Go ahead, Gary.
No, I'm with you guys on the whole thing. I think losing the Georgia Tech game and that going on the record as a loss has thrown the whole perception of what's going on here out of whack. With the asterisk being, a lot of players on this team are not performing up to snuff when you really look at it honestly and objectively.
So let me cut in right there. So if we're more, if we had to tilt the barometer more towards the 5-1 instead of a 4-2, and we have a lot of players that haven't played their best, when we take a look at it that both losses, good, bad, or indifferent, we can really look towards the coaching staff as far as mismanaging both those games, saying we're a 6-0 team at the halfway point of the season. I'm just saying with the other half of the season that's ahead of us, I feel like there's so much growth opportunity for us to get to. When I look at the North Carolina game, what's really disheartening to me, and this is what I hope you will challenge Mario as you watch his college career at the University of Miami is any game that you're winning, that you're playing on the road against a more talented team, all you want to do is get it to the fourth quarter. So if he had to go conservative and go in his shell against North Carolina and don't fling the ball all over the place, just get it to the fourth quarter. Anything can happen. I mean, the reality, there's probably about 4 plays in the North Carolina game. If it swings the other way, we have a totally different game. If we don't get the penalty by the defensive coach, if we recover that fumble in the end zone, that's a totally different play. If Matt Lee doesn't fumble a snap, I'm not making excuses because the fans are beyond.
No, but you're making good points. You're making good points,
I'm
Sebastian.
All I'm saying is if we just look at the season for what it is halfway through, I'm not saying we're 6-0 because I think if we were 6-0 today, I would think we're a fallacy. We're probably a fake. We're not a college football team. I'm not saying we're going to win the ACC championship. I'm just saying, are we more 5-1 than 4-2 by the way that we play, based upon the statistics and everything, and based upon how the whole team is playing and how we're coaching? Or do we have opportunities to grow over the next half of the season that could really turn our season around? I mean, if we squeak out a game against Clemson, if we upset Florida State on the road, if we beat the remaining of our opponents miraculously or even have one slip up, I'm just saying, Gary, at the end of the season, if I'm having a conversation with you and Izubee and we're 9-3, I'm looking at us saying, was my assessment correct? Are we more 5-1 than 4-2?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're making a great point, phenomenal point, and you're spot on. I mean, we don't know where this is going the second half of the year. I mean, they could go 5-1 the second half. It wouldn't shock me in the least. Like you said, there's a lot of growth potential ahead for this team. So they just got to go play it one week at a time.
Just 1 week at a time. I don't care if we win every single game at the end of the year by 1 or 2 points. All I'm saying is if we end the season at 10-2, when we were 4-2 now, or even 9-3, I just don't know what Mario has today is a burn it down program, get rid of 40-something other players and kind of start from scratch, because I just don't know if all the data really adds up to that. That's all I'm saying. Can we play better? Yes. Can we make the right adjustments? Yes. Can we manage the game better? Yes. If all those things are true, maybe we're more better than 4-2, maybe not quite as 5-1. Maybe we should end the season somewhere around maybe a 9-3. And I just don't know if that was a season that went in the toilet when you're coming off of 5-7 and you had to convert and you had to pretty much not do what Deion Sanders did, but you had to get half your football team half of the players on the team this year were not on the team last year. Do you agree with that?
What do you think, Izubee?
Yeah, no, I feel like 9-3 is kind of what I had before the year, but I do honestly, I feel like if they get to those 9 wins, that's kind of, I think that's where they need to be at the end of this year. Some way, somehow, figure it out, beat a Clemson, upset a Florida State or something. Just that 9-win kind of is my kind of bottom line for to see the real progression. 8-4, obviously it'll be a good look, but 9-3, that is kind of the best I can see it happening, for the rest of the year. And that's when you'll see actual improvement, like you mentioned, the overhaul in the roster, the recruiting classes, and all that good stuff. But the second half of the season, like I mentioned, a lot of guys that kind of want to see, get healthy, kind of produce to the level that a lot of people expected them. We talked about some defensive linemen. We talked about some guys on offense. So, a lot of people are kind of panicking, the tip shinking, fire Mario, all this stuff. It's way too early for that. 6 games into his second year, and he's 4-2, and the numbers across the board look much better than they did last year. There's obvious improvement. Obviously, people want more, but what more can you ask for besides that one little slip up against Georgia Tech? But yeah, I'm really excited and optimistic to see how these last 6 games go for real.
And if you could just put what happened against Georgia Tech out of the forefront of your mind and look at it and say what you've really gotten is 5-1 in terms of performance, I mean, that's a huge improvement, and it's not anywhere near as good. It's not as good as we would want, but man, it's like it's not like all negative.
No, it's not. I'm just saying, as the coaching staff goes through and gets ready to manage the second half of the season, when he looks at his players, Mario said something in the press conference that I thought was so profound, but I thought was so true. He said, our team has gotten a chance to see what we could be when we're good. But they've also gotten a chance to see what happens when we don't bring it. And we don't do all the things that we need to do. And I'm just saying, the team that I have this year, the second half of the season, to me, will be a complete reflection of the coaching staff. Because I think there's enough talent where there's no games on the schedule that we have no chance of not being able to win.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So if we go into the second half of the season and find a way to do better than what we did the first half of the season, limit the unnecessary turnovers and unnecessary penalties, play better as far as offense, defense, and even special teams. If we can avoid the injury bug, if we can get the most out of our players, if we do not do the things that help us lose football games, I believe in the Nick Saban formula. At the end of the year, what they care about in Alabama is how many W's you have. They don't care if you won by 1 or 2 or 3. If you beat an Arkansas by 3 points at home, a team that's 2-4, no one's talking about that. And I'm just saying, I just want us to have the mindset of just saying we're probably more 5-1 than we are 4-2. And if we just build on the positives and do the things that we need to do, we can go from here. Hey, I don't want to maximize the whole entire time. I just want to hear you guys' thoughts on that. Can y'all talk a little bit about some of these younger players that I hope to see play a little bit more in the second half of the season? Nobody's talked about Matthew McCoy. That's the player that I kind of feel like I may want to see a little bit more of. I'd like to see a little bit more of the Brown brothers at cornerback. I'm not saying take away the playing time away from some of our starters, but I'm just saying we got to start investing a little bit into next year, and we're fortunate enough not to be pressed because of injuries, but to see where we kind of go from there. But, guys, thank y'all for what y'all do. Thank y'all for enhancing our everything that I see from you guys that you put out. It's been absolutely phenomenal. I just want to hear you guys' take on it. Hey, look, at the halfway point of the season, look, if we would have said at the end, halfway point of the season, these are going to be our stats, we're 5-1 or 4-2, I think we would have taken it. No way, no bones about it. However we got it, we'd have been satisfied with it. So keep me on hold and keep the conversation going, but I just want to kind of hear from both of you guys.
All right, Sebastian, thank you. Izubee, I know I'm forcing myself in evaluating what we're watching to look at this as a 5-1 team. I'm not getting all emotional about Mario having brain lock against Georgia Tech. I'm really not. We have to look at the big picture, and to me, the big picture is there has been significant improvement, even with so many of the guys on this team not performing to the level that we thought they would, especially on defense.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's kind of a glass half empty or glass half full type of thing right now, and I feel like a lot of people kind of looking at it as a glass half empty, and I'm on the glass half full side because, like you mentioned, I feel like this team has not played to their full capability yet with, guys underperforming or guys being banged up or, guys just not, like I said, playing to their full, capability. And this is a good team compared to last year. Last year what we saw was just awful from the coaching, from the players on the field, from the energy and culture in the locker room. This is a complete 180. This looks like a new team. And we keep talking about it, but it's the elephant in the room. That one play versus Georgia Tech has changed a lot of people's perspective on the team, and I feel that it's kind of unfair because we knew after that Georgia Tech game, going to the schedule was going to be a gauntlet. You had Clemson, you had Florida State, you had Louisville team that looks good. You have a NC State team that's a good team sitting at 4-2. So this was going to be a tough stretch no matter what. I feel like that Georgia Tech loss just threw some salt in the wound and makes it a little bit more harder, sting a little bit more for the fans. But heading into this year, we knew after those first 5 games it was going to get tough. You were going to see what Miami's really going to be made out of. And now the road got a little bit more bumpier, but we're going to see what Miami's made out of these last 6 games of the season. And, it's going to be very interesting to see if this team breaks or if this team stands up to the challenge and, takes things one by one and kind of, starts to prove people wrong again and pick up, where they left off after that Georgia Tech blunder and kind of see if they can put the pieces back together. So it's going to be real interesting these last 6 games for sure.
LFG, man, let's go. Show us what you're made of. Leonard Taylor, wake up, my man. Wake up. Let's go to the 336. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, Gary.
Who's this?
This is Charles. I called you a couple weeks ago, first time.
Hey, Charles. Welcome back.
I'm good. I'm here. I was at the game Saturday night. And I didn't notice until the previous call I called in. And now it's kind of making sense to me. He said he's never noticed the ball floating, and I didn't notice until he said something about it.
I didn't notice it either.
I wonder if this got something to do with Tyler's hand, now that he's made a comment about it, the other day. But I just got to ask you, Gary, and I've been noticing this for the last couple of years. What is it that are you on? This is like a hypothetical, I guess, question, but it seems like you're on Tyler's NIL deal or something,
That I'm on.
You can't criticize.
That I'm on what? Say it again.
You can't criticize this guy for anything. It's like
Tyler?
Even Izubee just said, you know what? I got to start taking a look at that. He's
man. Listen,
some of it.
I don't blame him for all the woes of the program. I really don't. I look at a kid that has a very good arm. He makes a lot of plays.
I'm not saying we could. No, I'm not saying we could put everything on Tyler, but it seems like you don't want to put anything on him.
I just don't see it. I don't see it that way.
Say what? Okay, and maybe that's it. Maybe you just don't see it that way.
No, I just don't see it that way. I'm not covering up for him or anything. Trust me, I'm pretty opinionated. I mean, I'll call out somebody that I think is not carrying their weight or playing well.
You won't call out Tyler though.
Well, listen, I'll call him out. Chuck, I'll call him out for that interception at North Carolina. I mean, that was horrendous.
Okay.
I mean, absolutely horrendous.
Okay, and a couple of them at Georgia. Yeah, and I'm not a Tyler hater. I told you the last time I called. To me, Tyler is nothing until any quarterback at Miami is nothing until you beat Florida State. That's just my standard as a hater.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and he had a couple against Georgia Tech, but the thing is, he played, I think, 81 snaps on Saturday, and I think he had 3 bad plays in 81 snaps. I mean,
but three terrible timings of those.
Horrendous. I know.
It's not the bad plays; it's the timing of them that gets me.
I know, but then he'll also throw that ball to Jacoby George. Like, he got killed on that. And he hung in the pocket tough.
Yeah, he did.
And he delivered a beautiful ball. I mean, I don't think he's the reason they're losing. I really don't. If I did, I would say it.
I have a difference of opinion. I think as a team, I don't like what I really don't like, and I thought it was always Tyler's demeanor. But I remember 3 years ago when he got the start after King got hurt, and he came out there and he ran. I can't remember who we played, but it was a home game, and he scrambled for like 30-some yards down the sideline. I want to say it was
NC State. It was NC State. He looked fast as hell. Now he looks slow as hell.
Yeah, but he scrambled, and I was like, man, this guy can do it, No. The NC State game was when he called it out and said that, hey, we're going to go up there and we're going to go get a win. He was, they say he was talking junk. I think he was just confident, And I think the game, it was a couple games before that, he rushed down the sideline it seemed like almost 30 yards or something. I'm like, man, he's even got wheels. I have 2 conclusions with Tiger. Number one, I think that season, those last 6 games, he had a personality. This guy, I get sick of my quarterback, whether we're up or we're down. Go to the sideline, sit on the bench by himself, talks to nobody.
Yeah, let me tell you. I'm going to tell you my honest opinion. The biggest mistake that Tyler Van Dyke made was getting into this world of agents and thinking about the draft and all those kind of things. He did it before last season, and it was a massive mistake. And he's surrounded.
You know what, Gary?
People.
You know what, Gary? That's the one thing you and I will definitely agree. And I've been telling people that. I think something is in his head now.
He's trying to be an NFL first-round quarterback, and you can't try to be a first-round NFL quarterback. That has to happen organically.
Right. Yeah, and I think, like I said, it's just the thing to me. I don't blame all on Tyler, but the ones I do look at Tyler, and I'm like, dude, what are you? I mean, like I said, I'm at that game, and I'll tell you the honest truth. Every game this year we played, we left points on the field. I'm talking about even the first 4 games. We left points on the field. I watched that game Saturday night. Our first drive, we got the ball first. Our first, and it was like a 3 and out, and we may have got 1 first down. Or I thought it was a 3 out. But anyway, it was just like, okay, we're just going to fill out the first half. We're just going to go out here. I'm like, this is the best opportunity to take an explosive play. Okay, I got a lot of stuff to say, so I'm going to move on very quickly. I think some of this is coaching, holding these players back too. I look at Rashard Smith. I watched what he did at an A&M game, that kickoff return. And I'm thinking, okay, now this guy's going to get some shots. Can't get on the field. He gets on the field late Saturday night, and they say we don't have any explosive players. Rashard Smith is an explosive player. They couldn't do nothing with him when he was out there on the field. He was a shoestring tackle away from breaking a touchdown away. And I'm like, why can't this guy go? I loved Kobe Young last year and the beginning of this year. Was he 6'4", 6'5"?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6'4".
But he plays like he's 6 foot. He's got DBs on him where he should be going up just manhandling them, taking the ball on single coverage. And I'm like, what's going on? Okay, then let's go to the corners. Jaden Davis and Couch. I watched number 7 come in. He's bigger. They say he's faster. I'm like, he transferred in with UCF or somewhere, South Florida.
Yep,
the Brown kid. Yeah. I'm like, why can't he get in and play more? He looked good out there. So I'm thinking some of this, I don't know if they practice bad or don't show the coaches during the week in practice, but when these kids get in, they show, hey, this is how you play football. And I'm just like, why can't these kids get – now we've lost 2 games. Okay, we've lost 2 games now. Okay, let's see what we have. Let's dig deep and see what we have. And another thing, I was listening to another couple guys. I listened to other couple shows. I'm not saying bench Tyler for the season. We've seen Emory Williams. I know you have something personal with Ja'Cory. That's fine and good. I like the kid Ja'Cory.
Nobody has anything personal with anybody. Wait, time out. Whoa. Slow down.
Okay.
Nobody has anything personal with anybody. We give you honest evaluations.
I won't think you do. It seems like you do. Okay.
I absolutely
Me and Kane talked about that a few times.
I don't think he's going to be the quarterback at Miami ever. And I said that a year ago.
And you think Tyler is? You think Tyler is? Really?
I think are you kidding me? There's no comparison between the two right now. You can't even have a conversation.
No, but I'm saying, what has Tyler done? What has he won? What game has he won?
I understand that.
Texas A&M team has lost 3 games now already. Do I know?
You got to say, is it all his fault? I don't.
No. I'm not saying it's Gary. I'm not saying it's all his fault, but he's got to shoulder some of this blame. He's got to shoulder some of this blame.
No,
and that's my thing. But I'm like, Emory Williams came in. Emory Williams looks good.
Hey, time out, Charles. You're saying he has to be perfect. Now, here's how an objective grader saw his game at North Carolina. Played 81 snaps.
Okay.
Pro Football Focus gave him a 74.4 grade. When you talk to his coaches, they will tell you that of those 81 plays, 78 he executed perfectly. Okay? So, I don't know what people expect of this guy. Now, I'll agree that he's pressing a little bit at times.
Okay.
I think he is.
I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm expecting of him. If you look at the numbers, like you said, if you want to look at the stats, he outplayed Drake May. He had 370, almost 400 yards passing. 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Yeah, almost. Yeah, but guess what he came home with? An L. Drake May had less than 300 yards passing,
Did
4
he
touchdowns.
come home with an L because of his one mistake that he made throwing the interception?
No. He didn't make one mistake, Gary. Tyler didn't make one mistake.
He made 3 in the game, okay, but the one that was
No.
really
I'm not talking about just his turnovers, Gary. I'm not talking about Tyler's turn. I'm talking about ending drives. Not getting to the first down. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about he's got to throw touchdowns. I'm talking about moving the sticks. And then, like I said, his demeanor. Maybe he's hurt. Maybe that hand is hurting him, and maybe the leg is hurting him now. But I think he's a little hurt.
I think he's a little frustrated. I think he's putting a lot of pressure on himself to make the NFL and get drafted. And I think like I said, the biggest mistake he made was getting into that world of agents and all that nonsense.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm gonna leave with this. My thing is that,
I could have represented him, and he could have got an NIL deal with the Canes collection. He didn't need agents to do that.
Yeah. Well, my thing is this with Tyler. I'm not saying I want to do the same thing that Nick Saban did with Milroe. I'm not saying bench him for the year. Just even if you pull him for a few series. Hey, Tyler, come over here. Sit with me. Look at this. Emory. We can throw Emory in there. Look at this. I mean, but Saban did it for a game. But I'm saying, look at this, because to me, what does Tyler have? What does he have motivating him? If he knows that, hey, I'm going to be the guy every game, what's to motivate me from having five interceptions in 2 games? What's going to motivate me? And I know all of what on him, but he's the quarterback, so he gets it. So what's motivate me to say, you know what? Hey, I need to do better. I've got to focus. I've got to not lock in. I've got to read these zones. What's to motivate him? Nothing. If he knows,
I don't know, man. I don't think you're going to see. All right, Charles. Charles, let me let you go. We'll comment more about it. Yeah, but thank you for being part of the show. We'll talk to you next week. Izubee, I don't think that the coaches are ready to say, hey, we're going to sit Tyler Van Dyke down and go ride with Emory Williams. I mean, I just don't see it, and I don't understand what people are expecting from him.
Yeah, no, I don't think he should be sat down whatsoever at all. But I just feel like there needs to be a little bit more out of your quarterback and all that stuff. And I know, like you mentioned, out of 80 plays, 70 of them were, good ones. But there's just something about it. It's just like it's hard to put your finger on it, but there's just something that's missing there, and you want to see from your quarterback, whether it's him being fired up or him kind of doing a little bit of that or doing a little bit of this. But it's hard because like you mentioned, there's no one behind him that's kind of pressuring him. There's no one behind him that you can say, hey, he can take your job, because that quarterback room is probably one of the thinnest groups on the team when you look at depth and you look at overall talent in there. When you go from the starter to the second guy, that drop off is pretty drastic. So that's just something that I feel like we're just gonna have to wait and see how it plays out, because you almost can't do anything in that situation, because if you bench Tyler, you have a true freshman that is unproven, and then if you go with Ja'Carri Brown, we've seen he has the talent to do some things, but his arm talent isn't just there yet, and that's something that you can't deny. We saw in the spring game or the first scrimmage of the year, his arm talent is just not at that level yet, especially in an offense like Shannon Dawson wants to air it out and things like that. So it's just a situation you have to ride out, and not saying hope for the best, but just hope for a little bit of better productivity from it going on forward.
I mean, I don't think he's coasting because he's not being pushed or anything. The only thing that I would say from my observation is I do think there's times where he does press, that he's trying to be what people are thinking he should be, as opposed to just letting it kind of happen. And I blame that on the whole agent world and getting into that mess where people are, talking about, hey, we're going to go NFL. I mean, you can't go NFL until you're ready to go NFL. That's the way I look at it. All right, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. Let's go to the 561. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Yo, what's up, Gary? It's JT192.
Hey, what's up, JT?
JT192. Yeah, man. I can't. People are so negative. People are so negative about this team. It's crazy because they look so much better. They look so much better. And, like, the Georgia Tech thing, that was basically like a miracle. That was like a miracle. Like, on the last play, like, I went to that game and I was leaving, and I found out about it in my car. Because, like, people say, oh, yeah, Mario should just nail the ball. Yeah, of course, he should nail the ball. But when there's no time left like that, how many times do you just see a coach just running down the middle? And that whole game, you got to blame it on Chain. He's the guy who fumbled. Right? I mean, I know you don't want to say that about Chain.
You have to blame him, but he shouldn't have been in the situation.
Yeah. Well, just to show you how much of a miracle that was, he fumbled the ball when in a play where, like, all he has to do is not fumble the ball. He doesn't have to get yardage or anything like that. I mean, all he has to do is he could have just, like, fell down and he fumbled the ball. And then
he paid the price. They only played him 12 plays on Saturday.
I don't know. That's all on him, man. I mean, I know he's a kid and all, and no one wants to blame him. But, I mean, in reality, I mean, he messed that game up. And they were better than Georgia Tech. They were better than Texas A&M. They were better than all these teams. And when they played North Carolina wasn't all that much better than us. We have a good team. Our offensive line is good. Like, whenever we run the ball, we get 4 or 5 yards, and we're able to compete with North Carolina. We're able to compete with Texas A&M. I bet you we play anybody, even Clemson. And by the way, people saying, like, Clemson's a must-win. Dude, we could lose to Clemson easy. And it's not like we want to lose to Clemson. It's just that Clemson's good, too.
Mm-hmm.
These teams are good. Florida State, do you remember last year how they beat us? It was horrible. These games, saying that these games are like must-wins is kind of childish. It's kind of like you think like it's Christmas and, we got to win and it's going to happen. That's nonsense, man. You could go to Clemson and lose that game easy. Or Clemson's going to come here, we can lose that game easy. Easy. But this team is good. At least Mario is getting it in the right track. I mean, we used to play these teams and just get blown out. We're on par with these teams. I bet you if we play Clemson, we're going to be on par. It's not. I don't know if you remember when Manny would bring teams to Clemson. It wasn't even. It was like an execution. That's how much better they were. But we'll play Clemson. They're not going to like destroy us. But they got players just as good as our players, and I mean they could win. This could turn real bad. That's just the way college football is. But
all right, JC,
all right, I got one other thing, and I'll let you guys go. But I mean, just the amount of negativity that these fans are like spewing.
I think that Georgia Tech situation threw everything out of whack. They got to win a big game. Everybody will get their head down,
But wait a minute, we beat Texas A&M. I think you're kind of remember how you were saying we need a signature win, and then you were like Texas A&M's a signature win, and then we won. We beat Texas A&M.
They got to do it Saturday night. Got to get it back on track.
Well, all right. I just wanted to mention something with the transfer portal and Matt. I don't know where he's getting all this stuff with the transfer portal. In that, like, everybody's using the transfer portal. You look at Florida State, all these teams. The teams who aren't losing it are losing it. And if it makes him feel better, he could just pretend like the transfer players are college or high school recruits. Because a lot of them that he's disagreeing with that have like 4 years, he doesn't want to take somebody for 4 years. It's the same as like as high school players. You awake over there? What's going on over there?
No, I thought you were in mid-thought. No, I mean, I agree. We argue about that all the time. I have no problem with the transfer portal, but they got to do better in identifying the talent than they did this year. A lot of these guys are not contributing. Matt Chisel is being made to look very good right now with the performance of the guys out of the portal.
Okay. And then one other thing, I just had a comment on the site. Don't you feel like a lot of the appeal on your site is people coming on looking at like high school recruits? Like it's recruiting, right?
Certainly a big part of it, yeah.
It's huge. And the delusion some of these people have for some of the high school recruits, they'll have somebody coming in and they'll say, oh man, this guy's the next Sean Taylor. or he could, he runs a 4.1 or something like that. It's almost like a hero fantasy that they get with these high school players.
I mean, every
you don't
fan
have any
base.
thoughts on this, do you?
That's part of it in college football. Everybody goes through that.
Yeah. All right. Well, keep up the good work, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for withstanding all of this this wave that's coming at you tonight.
All right, man. Thank you, JT. Have a good one. Talk to you next week. Let's go to the 419. You're on CaneSport Live.
How you doing, Gary?
Doing good. Who's this?
Oh, this is Ohio Kane.
Hey, what's up, Ohio Kane? Talk to us.
Doing okay on this end. You had some really good calls tonight. I thought the one call was caller was interesting when he was bringing up, are we 5-1 or are we 4-2? And I guess my answer right now to that question, if I had to say offhand, I thought we were better than Georgia Tech. I mean, we should have won the game. As bad as we played, we still should have got out of it with a W. But, reevaluating these last couple of weeks, I didn't see anyone that was that much better roster-wise. Obviously, North Carolina, everybody said, the roster's that much better. And, it's tough to say. I mean, that could have easily been a 14-point game and a half. We were up at 3.
Yeah.
You get the touchdown, you're up 10. I mean, in a touchdown, it wasn't like anyone put the hat on the ball. It was just a weird fumble,
Yeah, but let me throw this out, Ohio. Who had the best quarterback on the field? North Carolina. Who had the best running back on the field? North Carolina. Who had the best wide receiver on the field? North Carolina.
And so did USC last week, and you seen how that went down.
Yeah, no, I know. So,
hear me out though. Hear me out, Gary. I mean, we go in, we're up 10 right there, and I'm gonna tell you what blows me about the team. It's just you have these momentary I don't know, brain fogs. I mean, it's 3rd and 8. The first touchdown North Carolina scored. It's 3rd down and 18. We got 2 safeties high, and Corey Couch gets burnt on the inside with a skinny post route. The other guys are running these short routes. Here comes a skinny post. I mean, I don't mean to single out Kinchins, but he was nowhere. You could see he was supposed to give inside help on that, and he was nowhere to be found. He wasn't engaged in any way. He got caught looking at a short route. No idea why he's looking at it. It's 3rd down and 18. It's 3rd and goal. And, you see Crouch with outside leverage, and the ball goes right to the inside, and you could see Crouch look over like he was looking for help. And there was just no safety. And it's plays like that. The deep ball, same thing. No safety there. James Williams just chilling there doing absolutely zero. And let me tell you something. If that's not the safety's job, then you are absolutely insane. Name me – there's not 5 corners in the country that could go one-on-one with Tez Walker. And it's funny because 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was sitting there saying, listen, North Carolina doesn't have the same receivers. And all of a sudden, 2 weeks before the game, they make the kid eligible. I got nervous quick because I seen Tez Walker. He's an Ohio kid. He's from Kent. And I watched that kid in the MAC. And, I mean, he's just a man among boys. And when he was eligible, I was like, oh, this is a problem. You can't single up Tez Walker. Listen, Ohio State, Michigan, they don't have corners that can lock up with Tez Walker one-on-one. The safeties were out of position all night, and you give up 2 big touchdowns. 3rd and 18 should never happen. The big, long touchdown in the second should never happen.
And these are the guys that are supposed to be the leaders of your team, the best players on the team.
Yeah, and I usually like everything's assessments. Ken Round, he's out of his damn mind. Out of his damn mind. Second round.
I don't see it.
No, and I don't like this. Listen, I like Kinch. I love Kinchins to death. I like him. I had nothing against him, but if an NFL GMs and those guys check and they cut on the film, he's out of position constantly. And it is stuff that can be eventually, hopefully, corrected. You'd hope. But I mean, right now you look at him. There's no way he's not going to go in the first 3 rounds. There's no chance of it. And it just, those are the things that make me lean to a 4-2 team just yet. Now, I see improvements for sure. We're more physical. Van Dyke's getting more time to throw the football than he ever had. Last year, he was getting harassed. We were getting harassed against teams like Middle Tennessee State with pressure. At least this year, he's had ample time to throw the football, time to look around. Now, as far as Van Dyke, he's the best quarterback on our team. I mean, these fans are coming down on him. I mean, he showed us I think my biggest complaint with Van Dyke is sometimes he just looks disengaged. He just that leadership quality that you look through from your leader. he just looks just disengaged to me sometimes. Things go wrong, and he just doesn't look like that guy to get the kids back up. That's just my take. In zone defenses, Georgia Tech confused the hell out of him with their zone defenses. And if you're running straight man against Van Dyke, he's beautiful. He's got the arm. But if teams go to certain zones and they hit him a little bit, Van Dyke can be confused quick. And he has to take some of the blame for that, Van Dyke, because, listen, some of those turnovers, those picks he threw were horrible. Now, the DB made a great play on the one, but a couple of them, he just threw it straight in, double, triple coverage, the one in the end zone. It was horrendous, and so I can't give him a total pass, but for the most part, we know he's the best quarterback on the team, Gary.
There's no question. Yeah.
No question. I mean, you can't debate that, and I think you do an admirable job. I don't think you have anything in for Ja'Cory Brown because your assessment's the same assessment I have. I'd love to see that kid pan out here, but he's just very inaccurate. And, people come down on you for saying, hey, listen, he's not going to be a guy here. He's not going to listen. Van Dyke and him, they're nowhere in the same ballpark. It's crazy to even make that. But as of now, I mean, looking at the team the way I look, I think we just make those mental errors. We just have those mental errors that are holding us back. And that's what I thought against North Carolina. We just had making these mental errors. If we would have limited those mental errors, a couple of those big blown coverages, we easily could have been in that football, very different outcome. We could have been up 14 at half. And you're up 14 at half, it's a much different football game. I thought the D-line, as bad as we got ran on, they hit the hell out of May. They had that kid rattled. They had 4 sacks in the first half. That kid was rattled. But again, he's an All-American. He's going to keep coming back throwing the football. But that kid was definitely uncomfortable in that pocket early. And I just now what is the situation with Van Dyke? You were saying something. Is he playing this week? Is he questionable?
We don't know. It's to be determined. He's got his right leg was wrapped. He was having a hard time walking really well. They're not saying they've canceled his media availability for tomorrow. He won't be talking to him, and we'll see what happens Saturday.
Now I'm curious. What do you think the team? Do you think we're closer to 5-1 or 4-2? And where do you think our improvements have been?
Closer to 5-1. I think they've made enormous progress this year. But
where?
I also think there's been a lot of disappointments. A lot. A lot of disappointments.
I'm just curious. Like what
a lot of
do you think
the the portal are not contributing. Some of the top players on the team that are supposed to be the leaders on the team aren't playing very well. So it hasn't been perfect by a long stretch, but I do think that you are what you are, and I think they've played to 5-1.
And Miami Ohio's looked good this year. I mean, that was a quality team. For what they are in the MAC, they're a good football team, and they're playing Toledo this week, and that should be a big football game up here. And they played some quality teams, but I just see the mental errors. If they could, it's all coachable stuff. If we can cut down on some of those mental errors and the mistakes, I mean, let's be honest. You make 9 turnovers in the last 2 games, you're gonna probably lose some football games. That's not good football ever. I don't care who you're playing. 9 turnovers, but what I do like is I like the physicality. I like the physicality of the offensive linemen are getting to the second level. They're hitting these linebackers. They're giving Tyler Van Dyke time to throw the football. They're opening nice holes for these running backs. I mean, who knows, next year when we get Citizen back and maybe Fletcher's healthy and you got the other kids coming in and hopefully Kevin Riley sticks, we could be a very, very tough football team because I do see the physicality difference. I really do, except, last game we were tackling really, besides last game we missed tackles left and right. But before that, the first, 5 games, we were tackling very efficiently, which in the past, watching Miami football was horrendous. I mean, we would miss tackles left and right, and I felt like we regressed a little bit last game. They were missing a lot of tackles last game, where in the first few games we didn't, there were very few tackles that were missing. We were playing very good football. My opinion. Just my opinion. And I don't know what to think of the Clemson game this week. I don't know which Miami team shows up, and I don't think Klubnik is anywhere near Drake May, but the thing is, I think in some areas on the defensive side of the ball, we're going to see some pretty tough football players on that Clemson side. It'll be very interesting. Yeah, I have no idea how that game's going to go, honestly. I thought we could beat North Carolina. I really did. But this week, I have no idea.
Yeah.
You
all right,
take
Ohio.
on the game?
Huh?
Yeah, did you have a take on that?
On the Clemson game?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a 4-quarter battle. I think if Tyler Van Dyke can't play, it's going to be very tough.
Well, if
Very
he can't
tough.
play, we're in big trouble. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, to make a true freshman go out there and play against Clemson's defense is asking a lot.
That'd be brutal. Yeah, no, that'd be brutal. That'd be asking a whole lot.
Yeah, so we'll see, man. All right, Ohio,
All right,
thanks
for your time.
For the show, man. Give us a call next week.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, the posters at CaneSport.com, we always ask them to post questions and topics that are going to be discussed on the show. I want to hit a few of them right now. Honey IV is asking Izubee, with 6 games out of the way for both teams, who has the better roster, Miami or Clemson? You've been studying Clemson this week. Talk to us, man. Which roster's better?
That's a tough one. Honestly, because if you look at up and down this Clemson roster, one thing that Dabo Swinney does not do at all is take players from the transfer portal. So most of these guys at Clemson are guys that he recruited out of high school. They've been developed in that, program for the last 2, 3, 4, however many years. And then you look at Miami, a good amount of their guys that are contributors right now are transfers. So that's a really, really hard comparison. Right now, I do have to give it to Clemson by maybe an inch. It's not as far off as it was last year, because last year, I think all around the table, Clemson is, blowing Miami out with the team comparison. And I think Miami's closing that gap with recruiting, with a little bit of the guys that have hit in the portal, but I still have to give the edge to Clemson with the overall team roster.
Yeah, I agree, but they're coming to Hard Rock. If the fans show up and Tyler can somehow get healthy, I do think the Canes have a shot to win the game. But Clemson, without question, still has the better roster. Sad Cane fan, talk about how you put words. He says, since getting to the ACC championship is out of the question now, because the coaches have failed these kids with being unprepared adults, what is the realistic goal now? Try to make a bowl game and win it. Izubee, I think the realistic goal is take one game at a time. One game at a time. Yeah. Make sure you're as well prepared as possible for that game and give yourself a chance to win. And worry about the final record later. Worry about the bowl game later. Worry about winning the bowl game later.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you. Just one game at a time and clean up. You shooting yourself in the foot because, like Ohio Cane mentioned, it's like you look at these games, and these aren't games where Miami is coming in as a complete underdog or, you have no chance of winning. These are 100% winnable games, and throughout the rest of the year, all these games are 100% winnable. And just take it one game at a time. Obviously, that Georgia Tech game coming off the bye week, that was just a mental lapse and a lot of things playing into factor that happened. A miracle at the end. Miami not, playing up to their capabilities. The goal right now is to be 1-0. As cliche, as corny as that sound, that's what Miami needs to do. Focus at the game ahead. Don't look forward. Don't look behind. Just stay in the present day and focus on what's ahead of you during that game.
12 of the past 17 Miami Hurricane teams, crazy, 17 years. 12 of the 17 have lost 3 games in a row in a season. The Canes are trying to avoid Saturday not being number 13. Keith 19 wants to know, what's the makeup of the team? Will they throw in the towel like past teams, or will they remain engaged and be ready to roll? What do you think?
I don't think they throw in the towel. I feel like this is, from that standpoint, this is a much different team from last year when facing adversity. Obviously, we saw that a little bit with Texas A&M. I know that was, feels like forever ago, that game, but you see this team doesn't completely, tuck their tail when they get punched in the mouth or kind of, run away from competition or just kind of give up like we saw in a few games last year. I wouldn't say give up, but this team fights back. That's one thing that you see from this team. A team that's gritty, a team that doesn't give up. Obviously, the result hasn't gone their way the last 2 games, but one thing you can't say is these guys completely quit on the team. So I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Dal Kane wants to see more passes to the tight ends, wants to know if he will. Shannon Dawson told us yes. We have to take him on his word, Dal Kane. We'll see what happens there. MSK Fish is asking Izubee if this is a must-win game. They're all must-win games, especially when you've lost 2 in a row. I don't put this one on a pedestal above any others, but a win against Clemson, Izubee, would mean a hell of a lot.
Yeah, first win against Clemson in the last decade. So this isn't a must win, but this is a kind of need to win to avoid that. 17 or 12 out of 17. You need to avoid that. You need to get back on track. You need to pick up your first ACC win game, and you need to pick up your first home ACC win in the last 6 games. So I don't think this is a must win. I think this is a need to win game for Miami if that helps it any better.
Canes 305 is tired of all the Jags that have made this program average the last 20 years. He wants to know who's going to be elite on the defensive side of the ball. Ruben Bain obviously is on a path looking like he's going to be elite. Who else is Izubee? I'm a guy, when you look at it from this perspective, I'm not sure anybody else is stepping up looking like they're going to be elite.
Yeah, I know Baines kind of set the bar a little high for everyone on that defense, and it's kind of crazy to think that a kid that was playing high school ball last year is one of your most productive and consistent and dominant guys on that D line. But like you mentioned, you talked about a little bit earlier, we haven't seen too many defenders, young guys kind of really step up and produce as much as we've seen Ruben Bain do, and obviously we've seen Damari Brown play a little bit, but not to the level that Bain's playing. And for the most part across the board, it's really head scratching to kind of pick out 1 or 2 or 3 guys that are going to be really, really elite. We thought Wesley Bissett was going to take that next step. Obviously, he hasn't lived up to his expectations, and the guys up front really have kind of been people want to see more from those guys. So as of right now, the only guy I can think of and kind of be real confident saying is going to be elite Ruben Bain. Hopefully another guy or 2 pops the remainder of the season, but through these first couple games, Ruben Bain's kind of been the only guy I think can play at an elite level consistently for Miami.
Keith 19 wants to know if this Miami team is better equipped to beat Clemson on Saturday than they were than the UNC team that they just played. Izubee, I think they're equipped to beat anybody they play. I don't think they're outclassed in any of these games this year, but every game stands on its own 2 feet, and you got to go out and win it. You got to be solid. You can't play well for 2 quarters and suddenly they throw an adjustment at you like going fast on offense, and you're not ready to handle it. That just can't happen.
Yeah, no. Yeah, like you said, I think Miami's equipped to beat, any team on their schedule. It's just whether, how they come out, how they play, and, just if they can put it all together. Like you mentioned, any team can beat any team pretty much. And, people probably didn't think Georgia Tech was equipped to beat Miami, but, long and behold, they come in and pull off that upset. So, anything can happen on Saturday, but I do think Miami has the talent on both sides of the ball to kind of compete with almost any team in the country right now.
All right, and the final call of the night, we're going out to the 615. You're live on CaneSport Live. 615, you with us? Yeah, who's this?
Yeah, I'm with you. This is Mark from Nashville.
Take us home, man. What you got?
So yeah, I think the reason that you're getting so much pushback on Tyler is it's just a regression. That's we just see, what we saw last year, and we know last year was, for lack of a better word, a shit show. But we saw a lot. We're seeing similar things now that we saw then. And I think that's what's got everybody kind of in an uproar, because I went back and I watched the Texas A&M game. I watched all the games, and he scanned the field. He still zeroes in on Xavier, but he scanned the field so much better than he has the last 2 games. And so, whether he's hurt, that's the kind of the part that pissed me off with Mario. Come out and just say the guy's hurt and that he's not 100%. And so we don't expect him to be at his best. Just be honest. I don't understand that whole, the whole philosophy of that. I know he's just trying to hide it from the other team, whatever, but, you give the fans this false impression that he's 100%. The dude can't even walk, and he's saying, oh, he's ready to go. We're not idiots. We're not dumb. Yeah. So, but I think everybody's seeing the regression from last year, and that's why you're getting the uproar that you're getting. I mean, that's what I see. I see the same things we saw last year. I go back to the Texas A&M game last year. The only game I think Gaddis called a unbelievable game. If you go back and watch, people running wide open everywhere, and he just could not get them the ball, and that's what we're seeing now. That fourth down play. I mean, against North Carolina, Xavier's got 18 guys hanging off of him, and here comes Isaiah Horton running across the field with nobody around him. I mean, it's just the same stuff that we're seeing, and I think that's why you're getting the backlash like you're getting. And I mean, I don't know how the switch flips so quick with him. That's what I don't understand. He's scanning the field. We don't, and doing everything that a NFL quarterback would do, and then he goes back and he looks like he's in high school again.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's as bad as some people think, but I get it. Like, listen, do you watch the Dolphins on Sunday? Are you a Dolphin fan?
I can't stand the NFL. I mean that, like, if I do watch it, I do watch them because they're fun to watch. I watch. They're fun to watch. They got the best offense in modern times. They're talking about Tua Tagovailoa as the NFL Player of the Year this year. He's playing unbelievable, but sometimes he'll have a throw during the course of the games where you just look at yourself and say, "What the hell was that?" Or, he'll throw a dumb interception or whatever. I mean, when a guy is out there for 80 plays and they're having to throw as much as they had to throw the other night and stuff, I mean, the odds of him making a mistake on an occasion or two are pretty high. I mean, now, the ones he's been making the last 2 weeks, a couple of them have been pretty bad, and I think that makes it more pronounced. But, I mean, all in all, I mean, he's playing at a level as high as almost any quarterback in the country. I mean, his stats are right there. His grades are right there. I mean, he's playing at a top level in America right now. 95% of the time, let's say. So he is having some bad plays he needs to eliminate. Yeah, and I mean, and as a fan base, I mean, most of them expect him to be perfect. I don't expect him to be perfect. I couldn't imagine playing that position. I know. I mean, I didn't play football, but I know I can't imagine how hard it is. But I don't expect him to be perfect. I guess it's just like every mistake we've had has been at the absolute worst, time or position on the field. And that just exaggerates it more. But the one other thing that just baffles me is most of the time when you talk about zone coverage, you talk about the elite quarterbacks and zone coverage, what do you normally say? Oh, they're going to pick you apart, right?
Yeah.
And Tyler is struggling at the thing that's supposed to be the easiest. Well, that's what blows my mind. He's struggling at the zone coverage and excelling at one-on-one coverage. Like, like the throw to Jacoby. I mean, Jacoby was nowhere even near open. But he knew where he would be and trusted that he would be open, where in zone coverage, you're throwing to a guy that's standing there, should be open. So, I mean, that's another thing that just baffles my mind is how he's so bad at zone coverage.
Yeah, at times he is.
So, I'm not putting all the blame on him. I think Dawson has not done a great job the last two games either. I mean, we've not seen motion. We've not seen any of the stuff we saw the first three games. It's like he just threw that out the window, and I'm not exactly sure why. So.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for you on that one.
I don't either.
All right, Mark. Well, thank you, man. Give us a call next week.
Thanks, sir.
All right. All right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. I want to thank everybody that called in. Izubee, thank you for your great contributions. As always, the Canes have a big one this Saturday. at Hard Rock Stadium against Clemson. Got to find a way to win. I know you got to find a way to win every game. It's a cliche, but you don't want to be you've made a lot of progress this year. Do not want to be team number 13 out of the last 18 to lose 3 in a row during the season. So we'll see what happens. So for everyone that called in, for Izubee, I'm Gary. Thank you so much for being part of CaneSport Live tonight, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Lamar Thomas Show. That's always a lot of fun. And then we'll see you on Saturday at Hard Rock Stadium. Have a great night, everybody.